Hi, Emma. Nice meeting you. Well, I can't see you, but I'm glad you can see me. For all of you that don't know me, my name is Maria Hunes. I have talked to many of you either on the phone or through email, helping you with all your questions that you may have. I will be presenting the CALPADS reporting process. Thank you for being here. Before we start, I do want to go through some Zoom recap. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that. 1 second. I'm sure you guys have been hearing about this information throughout all your sessions, and you guys have been filled with a lot of information today. So make a little space for me. We still have this to go through, okay? So just to let you know, all sessions will be recorded and posted to the conference website after the conference. The materials have been posted to the conference website. Everyone will be muted. If you have any questions during this session, you can put them in the Q&A. Please do not put any in the chat. They will not be able to be answered through that channel. At the end of the session, Q&A will be downloaded and sent to all attendees. We do have the option of closed captioning for anybody that needs it. You can click on CC right underneath by Q&A, okay? CALPADS reporting. We have emphasized this throughout the conference today. I mean, we still get a lot of questions of how data gets reported to CALPADS and why sometimes you guys do not see errors in SEIS, but you get them from CALPADS. Okay, so all the SEIS data that you enter into SEIS, we validate with information that we have. However, when you send it directly from SEIS to CALPADS through the API portal, when CALPADS receives it, they will validate that data against your SIS information. So it is very important that your SIS data matches your SEIS data. For those of you that don't know, the term of SIS is your system information, special information system, okay? I guess we can finally say that we survived Census Day. And right now we're taking that deep breath, we're done, yay, we did it. We have to start prepping for end of year. So something to, look for is making sure that your data is matching so that you can avoid errors in the future for fall reporting in June 30th. Being said that you have your SIS information that, should match your SEIS information, I do want to take the time to let you know that SEIS integration is one of our features that will help you automatically import data from your SIS. Any fields that are in your student record, you can import them automatically into SEIS and vice versa from SEIS to your SIS. Okay, this is a fee-based feature. If you feel this is not something that works for your district, we at least encourage you to download your student record, the date student enrolled in the LEA. This is a SEIS field that we added. It is not reported to CALPADS. It is only a warning in your CALPADS student page, but this will help you be able to somewhat get a student count in December for the students, and it will help you filter your transactions from the date the student enrolled, which could be like July 1st, up to whatever date you need, okay? If SEIS integration is something you want to look into and would like further information on it, reach out to our SEIS support at sjcoe.net, and they will be able to provide you with further information as far as fees and all the fields that are able to be imported. Reporting used to be done at the CELPA level, but since we started the API portal to direct all your information from SEIS directly to CALPADS, this is something that has changed, as the API portal requires that the login information identifies the user as a member of an individual district, okay? So that's why now it has changed from CELPA just to district level. We always get that question, how come the CELPA cannot submit a report? This is why. They want to be able to identify you as a member of that specific LEA, and you're the one that's submitting for them. That being said, it is recommended that you select one person to be in charge of reporting at all times. It is very important that only one report is ran at a time. You do not want to have two people that have access to generating a report and sending it. We've had instances where one person submitted a report and the other one also generated one, and now you're getting errors that you cannot fix because one of them is blocking the other one. So very important, only one report per district should be submitted at one time. We recommend that you guys your SPED person works directly with your CALPADS person. I know this is different with before, your SPED user used to do their own thing, CALPADS person used to do their own thing. Unfortunately, with all the changes in reporting, it is imperative that you guys work together to try to resolve the issues in a better way, faster, and just working together just makes things easier. Even though reporting is done at the district level, the certification is still done at the CELPA level. At the CELPA level, they will be able to see your transactions. They will be able to generate reports. However, they will not be able to submit them to CALPADS. They have the availability to see all your errors for all the different districts that they have. However, it is very important that the district displays their errors on the homepage notice. If the district does not post them in their homepage notice, the CELPA level will not be able to view them. So if you want them to be able to see all your errors or you may need help with them, make sure you post them on your homepage notice. That is also something that helps us. When you guys call us or you guys send us an email, we can't get back to you right away and say we're looking at the email after hours. If we're able to log into your account and see those errors, we can definitely help you from there. If not, we have to wait until we can reach you to ask you what the error code is, what the student is, the student SSID or whatever it may need. So it definitely also helps us as well. The permissions that are needed to report at the district level are generate CALPADS reports, edit CALPADS transactions, and create CALPADS transactions, okay? The create CALPADS transactions is something that came out about a year ago. And it's when the student comes in, you want to adopt and create those transactions right away. There are some students, kind of slip through the cracks and a transaction is not created. So when you're submitting a report and you get your error that you're missing a transaction, you need this permission to be able to create that and submit it to CALPADS. At the CELPA level, the permissions are very similar. They can generate a CALPADS report. They can submit it. They can edit CALPADS transactions. That will help you at the district level to be able, if you need any assistance from them, they can definitely do that for you. And they need the permission to view CALPADS errors. And if they don't have that permission, they will not be able to see it. Transactional reporting. What is transactional reporting? This is information that CALPADS wants real-time data every time an action occurs. So they want to know every time you affirm an IEP, whether it be an initial, annual, triennial. They want to know every time you exit a student. They want to know every time you change a student from pending to D&Q. Okay, they also want to know every time a student is pending evaluation. Now I want to touch base a little bit on this. It's very important. And we have a lot of this happen lately, especially during Census Day. If your student comes in and you receive parent consent, it is imperative that you put meeting type 30 and plan type 300. So that way it'll create a transaction overnight saying the student is still pending initial evaluation. That transaction is created and can be submitted to CALPADS. What we found during Census Day is that the student was coming in August or September, and parent consent was received, but the meeting wasn't going to be held after Census Day. So guess what? Now you have an error. Where is your transaction for this student? So definitely if you would have marked meeting type 30, plan type 300, that pending transaction would have been created and you would have submitted that to CALPADS. They now know you're waiting for initial evaluation. So very important, please mark those students the right way. So then like that, you can have that transaction to report to CALPADS. They want to know every time you affirm an amendment, because amendments are making changes to what the IEP had. Okay, not all amendments are reportable, and we'll get through that in just a second. I just want to again let you guys know, please make sure that your IEPs and your amendments are affirmed within 7 days. As soon as possible, you get that transaction created, you can submit it. Your exits the same way. We had incidents where the student was exited 2 years ago, but the record was left active. Now they're trying to exit the student, but they no longer hold the enrollment and they're getting the GER 005 error or other errors to go with it. So it is very important you find out a student needs to be exited, exit that student, that transaction gets created and reported to CALPADS. Do keep in mind that exit reasons 71, 74, 76, and 77 are not reportable. In SEIS, we will not create those transactions, and those selections are not available in the transactions themselves. Okay. As we were talking, the reportable amendments, all these fields that you see here are what will make a reportable transaction for you. It starts from primary residence to all the post-secondary fields from fields 14.36 to 14.44. That also includes your services. If services are changed through the amendment process, you will have a reportable transaction to send to CALPADS. That includes our new fields that have just been added, disability 1 and disability 2. As you can see here, we do not have plan type. According to CALPADS and Flash 181, plan type should be changed through a full IEP. So you want to go into the future IEP, change your plan type, enter the date that this decision was made, whether it was held in a meeting or whatever you guys needed to do, and affirm that meeting. That will create a transaction for you to report to CALPADS, letting them know you have changed that plan type. We are finding where the student went from an IEP to an ISP, but they did it through the amendment process. You not only created yourself an error with the SPED 438 because your amendment does not match your IEP, but you have also now do not have a way to submit that to CALPADS. So very important, plan type should be done through a full IEP, not the amendment process. Once all your transactions are created, they go into CALPADS transactions where they are divided into categories, depending on the steps that you have taken. So you have your reportable transactions. These are the ones that have not been submitted to CALPADS and the ones that you can generate a report for. Then you have your transactions accepted by CALPADS. Those are transactions that were already pulled from a report and submitted to CALPADS and they were accepted. You're done with those. Those should be clear. Then you have your transactions marked do not report. These would be transactions that for one reason or another, you marked it do not report. It could be that it was created an accident. Somebody accidentally affirmed an IEP with the wrong date or the wrong meeting type, and you mark it do not report so that it will not be submitted to CALPADS. Or you may have one where you have an error. There's times when you guys reach out to us and we don't have clarification on that error, and we let you know, like, we don't know at this moment. Please mark it do not report. This will let you continue with your reporting. Once we get a resolution, then you can restore it and resubmit it. This is the category what it would go into. So whenever you would have to restore it, you can click on transactions marked do not report, search for your transaction, restore it. Blank SSIDs is something that I recommend that you guys pull prior to generating a report. Reason being is that if you submit all these transactions without SSIDs, they're going to come back as errors. So if you can avoid it by filtering through them first, going through them, entering all those SSIDs that are necessary and generating your report, that's one less error that you have to worry about. Then you have your deleted transactions. Deleted transactions can only be deleted if they were marked in our report at one point or another. Usually these are the ones where the transaction maybe was incorrectly done. It was affirmed with incorrect data, and you know for sure that you're not going to submit that to CALPADS at any given point. Then you want to mark it deleted, and it'll go into the deleted file. This is the only section that that as long as you have to mark it in our report in order to get there. My all-time favorite is the all transactions. When you guys call, when you guys have a question, I automatically go and select type of transactions. If I've talked to many of you, that's where I tell you guys, go to all transactions. Reason being is that I can see all reportable transactions. I can see accepted by transactions, and I can see transactions marked in our report. The only one I can't see is deleted transactions. I would actually have to click on deleted transactions to be able to view those. But it is when you're researching data for a specific student, all transactions is your best bet, because you'll be able to tell what they have done, where they're at all times. And this is my buddy. This is my CALPADS transaction filters. I know that some of you are not familiar with it, and it's sometimes a little bit hard to see. It's right underneath type of transactions, and you can either click on the actual sentence that says CALPADS transactions, filters optional, or the click expand to the right-hand side of it. We recently added name and last name. And of course, we've had the SEIS ID and the SSID, but it's just awesome to have to be able to search by name. So when you guys call me, I no longer have to tell you I need the SSID or the SEIS ID. You give me the name, I can search for it. There's other filters that can be used at the SELPA level if they want to see all the transactions for one specific LEA, any district of accountability or school of attendance. You're able to filter through meeting dates. And this is the date student enrolled into the district LEA. You can enter here if you want to see this year, last year, whatever you want. Right here are your date ranges. You click apply filters. If you select a certain student, all the transactions for that one student will show up for you, whether they've been accepted, marked in our report, anything will be there. And it's so easy to be able to see just the one student instead of seeing everybody and all the transactions that you may have, depending on if you have a small district or a bigger district, you can have anywhere from 20 transactions to 500. We're going to review the transaction icons. When the transaction is created, these are the icons that you have available to you. So when you call us and we let you know, you click on the edit icon, this is what we mean. It's the little pencil. What the edit icon will do is it will take you into the transaction with all the information that was processed when the transaction was affirmed. Then you have your little view IEP icon, which is the little paper icon. This icon will take you into the live student record. If you need to research anything or you need to see, what happened on that IEP or what the live record looks like, this is definitely an easy way to get there. And the very important one is that do not report. It is the little circle with the dash. So when we let you know, like, oh, for now, mark the transaction, do not report, once we have a resolution, we'll let you know, or whatever maybe, this is what we mean. We need you to mark the transaction, do not report. This should not be confused with marking the student record, do not report. We found that a lot of users do that. They call us back and they're like, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? I did what you said, and we find that they marked the student record, do not report. So you want to make sure that that's a big difference. You don't want to create yourself more issues by marking the live record, do not report. It's the transaction. That being said, you also want to make sure you enter a comment. If, for example, it was the SPED 405 error that you're getting an error on, and we're waiting for clarification on that, put that in your comments, SPED 405, or whatever other error may be, or the reason that you're marking these transactions do not report, so that if you have to come back and restore those transactions, you are able to see which ones need to be restored. If no comments are entered, how do you know why they were marked that way, and if you need to resubmit them? Generating a CALPADS report. As I mentioned, you can only generate a report for reportable transactions. So it'll have to be under type of transactions. It will always have to be reportable transactions. Then you can click on the green Generate Report button. This will directly take you to the CALPADS generated reports, where you will be able to see your reports and how many SPED files it grabbed. Okay, and you can click on the side arrow to expand it, which is right next to the delete icon, or anywhere on the road to be able to expand those that report. The report will get all your transactions and put them into types. Okay, for some of you guys that have been here for a while, the pending transactions used to be our type 4s. So with CALPADS wanting information entered chronologically, it only made sense to make pending transactions type 1, because that's where the record starts. You add the record, you get parent consent, you put your meeting type 30, plan type 300, now you have a pending transaction. And until you hold that meeting, you will have your type 2, which is your affirmed IEPs. The type 2 will be any IEPs that have been affirmed, with whether they are initial, annuals, or triennials. I wanted to go a little bit over this so that you guys can understand how the process works. In the beginning, many of you may have experienced the SPED 0375 error, which was duplicate records. It was a big headache. And so to eliminate that information, what was happening is that sometimes the provider would affirm once, twice, maybe even 3 times. And every time that an affirm was happening, a transaction was being created. So after having that transaction submitted, once you went and did the second time, it was giving you the duplicate error, 375. That was not a good thing. So we definitely changed that process. If someone accidentally reaffirms the meeting again, we will not create another transaction. The first affirmed transaction is the one that is created and will stay the same. If for any reason you change any of the student record fields, but the meeting date and the meeting type remain the same, we will simply update those fields to that same transaction. A new one will not be created. The only time another transaction will be created is if the meeting date or the meeting type are different. And those kind of instances will happen, like right now it's been happening a lot, where the meeting should have been an annual and a triennial, but accidentally only marked a triennial. So what you'll want to do is, if you haven't held any amendments and that meeting is still a current IEP, you can simply update the meeting type to be a 20 and a 40 and reaffirm the meeting. That will create a 20 transaction for you to be able to report. It will not create another 40 because you already had it. Now, the reaffirming can only be done if you haven't held any amendments to the meeting and that meeting is still the current. If you find yourself that you have opened an amendment or a new meeting has happened, reach out to SEIS support at sjc.oe. We will send you the form to be able to update, and then that's something our programmers will be able to update for you. Then you have your type 3s, is all your amendment transactions that have been created. And you have your type 4, exits and DNQs. Again, keep in mind that exit reasons 71, 74, 76, and 77 are not reportable, so you will not get transactions for those. Once you have pulled your report, you're ready to start submitting to CALPADS. So you want to log into CALPADS with your credentials and start submitting your report. Right here, you're able to see under the View Edit Report Data, you can open your report and you will be able to see all the transactions that this report pulled in. So click on it, you're able to see every single one that was included. Then it breaks it down into how many records are for each type and how many rejected records. That will happen once you'll receive your errors. So the first thing you do is you click on your Submit Sped file on type 1. You want to start with your type 1. Once you have submitted your first sped file, you get this little cloud saying this report is active. And you keep on clicking on the refresh status link as seen here until your report says posted. You will not be able to edit any transactions. They will become locked. You will not be able to delete a report, and you will not be able to deactivate a report when the report is in queue or in processing. You can only make any changes or anything until the report says posted. Once it has posted, you will receive your errors. At that point, you are able to download them into an Excel spreadsheet and post them on the homepage notice. Again, the importance of homepage notice is for yourself to be able to see it as well and us to help you if it's required. Once you click on the homepage notice, you are able to enter a unique message that you want to put out there. It will display on the homepage notice. You can select who you want them to view. So if you want the district level to view the errors, you can select that. You can select the school site and you can select your case managers. Do keep in mind that even though your case managers can see these errors, they don't have the availability to be able to fix everything. They don't have availability to view transactions and they cannot see the report. So I do want to just keep that in mind. Once your errors are posted onto your home page, you will be able to click on the Fix Error button, and you are able to see the errors along with the error codes and a brief description of what the errors are. Once you click on the Fix Errors link, it will give you a better explanation of what those errors may be. Many of you do not know that these little information icon right here next to the error will give you a better explanation and explain the fields that CALPADS is validating. You also can see the download the complete CALPADS error code. This is something that we go by when they submit it to us with all the new errors that are coming in. You guys call us, we take a look, we see the fields that are being validated, and that's how we're able to help you. So these are little tools that you guys have available to you guys if you guys would like. When you receive the errors from CALPADS, most of them will highlight in red and you're able to see it. But if you don't, looking at going into the information icon, you can get a better description of what the error is. And of course, we're here to help. If you know, some of these can be confusing. Sometimes it's confusing for us as well, and we have to just kind of sit there and decipher them, but definitely reach out to us. We're here to help you. Once you have fixed all your errors, you can resubmit your file to CALPADS. And you will continue, once you're done with your SPED files and you are error-free, you will continue with your service files. And it will be the same process. You submit your service files, get the errors, bring them back, put them on your homepage, have those fixed, and then you can continue to your other types of reports. and it'll be the same process through all the types until you are completely done. Then your report is error-free. And at that point, you can do the happy dance, okay? And all those transactions that were on that report will now be sent to the transactions accepted by CALPADS. And right when you are completely done and you're doing your happy dance and everything is nice and over, it's time to generate a new report. And this is something that you will continue to do forever. I wanted to go over some of the questions that sometimes we get. We may not have that much time, but one of the questions that we receive is, how do I resubmit an accepted transaction? There's times when in SEIS we show that the transaction has been submitted and accepted by CALPADS, but for one reason or another, CALPADS does not have that transaction. So since you're not able to create a report for transactions accepted by CALPADS, how do you get it up there? We have to make that transaction reportable again for you to resubmit. The way to do that is you would go to your type of transactions, go through the category of transactions accepted by CALPADS, locate your transaction, and click the edit icon. The edit icon is taking you into the transaction where you will find the edit record button. You have to click on the edit record button. You'll have a little window that pops up asking if you are sure you want to do this. You want to click OK. And then simply, since we're not making any updates to the transaction, you want to click Save. That saves your transaction and takes it back to Reportable, where you can generate a new report and resubmit it. If you needed to edit a transaction that has already been accepted by CALPADS, it's a similar process, with the exception of before you click Save, you want to make those updates. Once those updates are made, you can save, and again, that transaction goes to Reportable. You generate a new report and resubmit to CALPADS. One of the other questions that we have a lot right now is the SPED 539 error. It's one of our famous ones. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about this error and why it's happening and how it can be fixed. So I understand that, life gets busy, and sometimes there's times where, let's say this perfect example, the teacher held the meeting on a 124. And, through getting signatures and getting other things and looking at other students, they forgot to affirm. So they forget to affirm in January, and then, come April, they have an amendment for them. So they come into the record and they start up, open the amendment, but they don't realize that they still have not affirmed that IEP they held on 124. So they open the amendment thinking they're doing it for the 124 meeting, but in reality, they're opening it for the historical IEP. And now the amendment is in the incorrect IEP. It should not be there because it's not for that 2019. So when they try to affirm the amendment, they realize that the IEP is open, and they go and they affirm the meeting. Well, now you have an amendment in a historical IEP that has a more current date than your current IEP. And that is where the error is. That April amendment belongs in the 124 meeting, not in the one from 2019. So you want to look at all your transactions, see where your error is, reach out to support@sjcoe.net. Let us know of the issue. We send you a form for you to fill out that looks just like the bottom here. And once you have done that and send it back to us, we will link that amendment transaction to the correct meeting. And that will solve your issue there. If you happen to find that the issue was for a student that just came into your district, and the error did happen in the previous district, it is recommended by CALPADS that you reach out to the previous district to have them fix the error so that you can continue with your reporting. if the previous district is not cooperating with you, or they don't want to have to reopen their files and change stuff, then it is recommended that you submit a ticket directly to CALPADS so that they can assist you with the error. One of the other famous ones that has been haunting us since last year is SPED 438. So one of the main reasons that SPED 438 happens is because these fields are updated in the amendment process when they should not be. According to CALPADS, if any of these fields change from the current IEP, they should be done through a full IEP, not through the amendment process. And the amendment should always match the information that is on the IEP. So very important, check these fields. We recommend, since you cannot have two pages open of SEIS, because that will cause caching, we recommend that you open your amendment transaction in SEIS and have your CALPADS open and check the specific fields against the data that's in the IEP transaction. And that's where you will be able to see where your disconnect is. One of the main ones that happens, I'm gonna say maybe 80% of the time, is the parental involvement facilitation code. Most of the time, the IEP will have a yes, and then your amendment transaction will have no or no response, or vice versa, where the IEP will have a yes, and the amendment will, the IEP will have a no, and your amendment will have a yes. So those are the first field maybe that you want to check when you're comparing these fields. Go to the 14.45. Most of the time, that's the error. If not, definitely look at all the other fields that they are validating. One more, just again, rephrasing and letting you guys know, just make sure you guys change those eligibility statuses as soon as you get them. Make sure your amendments are affirmed. Make sure you're exiting students in a timely manner. And those meeting type 30s, those pending transactions are really a big thing right now. Make sure that you're documenting it, meeting type 30, plan type 300. And district, your homepage notices, everything that you get from your teachers, make sure your unaffirmed IEPs are being taken care of, your unsigned amendments. This is the only way that they will, once they affirm it, you'll have the transactions to report. And if they don't do that, then you're gonna have errors at the end. Make sure that your missing transactions are created for all those students. It's a brand new homepage notice that we did for you guys to make it easier for you guys to find these. So definitely check those out, make sure that they're being created. It's just everything to try to avoid any errors for you guys going forward. Everything we do is just trying to make your lives easier with everything else you guys have to do. We try to do our best. This concludes our session. And I want to thank you for being here, listening to me ramble on. I hope I was of help to some of you. And we can certainly take some questions if we have any.
We have quite a few. Do you want me just to read them out to you, Marina, and then you can go ahead and answer them?
Yes.
Perfect. Deanna Riddle says, can I resubmit an accepted transaction from 2019? And I'm
Yes,
sorry,
you
let me
can.
clarify. Can I resubmit it? Yeah, did I say accepted transaction from 2019? Go ahead.
Yes, you can. You can do the process that I just went through before. You want to go to the transactions accepted by CALPADS, locate your transaction, click the edit icon, go into the transaction and click the edit record. Yes, you want to edit that transaction, click save. That takes it back to reportable. And at that point, you can generate a new report and resubmit it to CALPADS.
Perfect. Kimberly wants to know, for the amendment plan mismatch, sometimes the parent is not involved in the IEP, but is involved in the amendment, or vice versa. It doesn't make sense. Oh, so I guess, so what'll happen is they'll update that parent involvement, and then it'll cause an error. If it doesn't make sense that those have to match. Will this change in the future? So that's a
That is
CALPADS thing, yeah.
That is something that CALPADS stated. It's also in Flash 181, that if parental involvement is being updated from what the previous meeting had, that is something that they would need to do through the full IEP. It should not be done through the amendment process. So if during that IEP meeting, the parental involvement was a no, that's the way it should be in the amendment, because according to CALPADS, that should not be discussed in the amendment process and should remain the same as what the meeting was.
Okay, perfect. And I believe this is probably the same thing, but for SPED 0438, if I see that field 1425 does not match, what is the fix?
1425, if I'm not mistaken, that's the amendment identifier. That's not going to match. I know that sometimes the description kind of says a little bit about the amendment identifier. However, the amendment identifier, I'm sorry, it would have been the amendment date, the field 14.25. The amendment date would only be created if the transaction is an amendment. So you are not going to see an amendment date in your IEP transaction. That will not be a mismatch. 1425 will only be populated if it's an amendment transaction, and that will not cause you an error.
Okay, perfect. Let me go into the chat. Oh, okay. So Yvette says we're just seeing a black screen. I believe Yvette, she has taken her PowerPoint presentation off of sharing her screen. So that's why you're, there it is. We'll put something back for you there. All right, let me see. So code GER 005 is populating as an error on multiple occasions for our private school students who belong to our district. How do we fix that?
If they are appearing in your district, that means that the student should have an open enrollment in your SIS. That is what they are validating. So if you have a student that you have a transaction for and you're submitting it to CALPADS, that is saying you are the reporting LEA. Therefore, there should be an open enrollment in your SIS for that student.
Alrighty. So if an IEP is affirmed and the case manager forgot to change the meeting type from an ISP to an IEP, can she just go into the CALPADS student page and change it? It hasn't been accepted by CALPADS yet.
Yes, so if it was accidental and they didn't do that and they caught the mistake and there hasn't been any amendments held and that's still the current IEP, yes, you can go change the plan type or fill out the ISP and reaffirm to create that transaction to be able to submit to CALPADS.
Perfect. Let's see if I can find you another one. I'm trying to see if I can find you a good one in here. Okay, my CALPADS report from October 7th, pool is, or my October 7th pool is error-free and safe. But now we have 67 new reportable transactions. Should I generate another CALPADS report for those transactions?
Yes, as I mentioned before, reporting is done continuously. So now that you're done and you're error-free with your 10-7 report, you can generate your new report to continue to clean up data throughout the year instead of having to wait until census day or end of your reporting. This will make it easier for you during those times. Since you've already been submitting everything and clearing, you won't have much to do during those dates. So yes, we recommend just continue. Once you're done with one report and it's error-free, continue with the next one and going forward with that at all times.
Perfect. And I had somebody ask me earlier, or so there was a question earlier, is how often should they be submitting reports to CALPADS?
I would say every time you're done with one report, go ahead and generate your next one. I know that I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe CALPADS is advising once a month. But it depending on the size of your district, if you have a big district, you don't want to wait, once a month to have 500 to 600 transactions. So as soon as you're done with one, just start with the other. It's easier to just have it cleaned up, and you don't lose the momentum of just being able to clear all those up for you. I think it would make it easier on everybody if you guys just continue to run them every time you're done with another report.
Okay. Are we able to resolve, Sophia wants to know, are we able to resolve certification errors throughout the year or only during census day and end of year?
If you have certification reports throughout the year because of information that you are submitting and you're getting those reports, you can fix them. If it's something that needs to be done through SEIS, you can definitely update whatever needs to be updated and submit it to CALPADS, and the certification errors will drop as well. I don't know how it works on CALPADS of if they can generate a report throughout the year, or is something that they only get during census day or end of year. So that I'm not sure of.
So what I know, Maria, is that CALPADS only collects data twice a year. So they collect it on census day and they collect it at the end of year. On census day, they collect information for the subset of students that were active and enrolled on census day. This year it happened to fall on October 7th. It's every first Wednesday of December, I believe. Then what happens is users continue reporting throughout the year all of their data, and at the end of year, so then at census day, they have until December to certify. So in between census day and December, they will get a certification errors because CALPADS is reviewing their data and kicking back errors based on information that they have in CALPADS. And then, so this again happens at the end of the year. They again open up the end of year window and they start collecting, they start looking at the data that has been submitted from census day, after census day, and to the end of the school year. So then again, at the end of the school year, they open up that window and again, they have a certain date to where they have to certify. And that's when those certification errors start rearing their ugly heads again based off of the information that's being validated during that window.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Well, that ends our session, everybody. Thank you for being here and listening to me. This was my first presentation. Nerves are shot, but
you did great.
Excited to have shared all this information with you guys, and I hope to be hearing from you guys soon, whether it be email or phone. Thank you guys and have a great day.
And we'll go ahead and continue answering as many of the Q&A questions as we have until they cut us off.
Thank you.